Go ahead and accelerate as we merge onto the open pavement of the Ohio Turnpike, heading east through the northern edge of Portage County. Settle into your lane and get comfortable behind the wheel, because we are about to take a 12-minute drive through a town that perfectly encapsulates the sweeping, relentless story of American expansion. We are starting our journey today on one of the most vital, heavily traveled ribbons of asphalt in the entire country. The Ohio Turnpike is a marvel of mid-20th century engineering, born out of the post-World War II economic boom, designed to seamlessly move millions of people and billions of tons of freight across the Midwestern landscape. But as you cruise along this massive multi-lane interstate, preparing to take exit 187 towards Streetsboro, I want you to look beyond the concrete barriers and the highway signs. I want you to imagine the absolute sheer willpower it took to tame this specific patch of earth. As you take the exit ramp and smoothly navigate through the toll booths to merge onto State Route 14 eastbound, you are officially entering Streetsboro, Ohio. Today, as you look out your windshield, you are greeted by a massive, sprawling landscape of modern commercial density. You see towering signs for hotel chains, massive gas stations, bustling strip malls, and an endless parade of fast food restaurants lining both sides of the multi-lane highway. It is loud, it is fast-paced, and it is undeniably convenient. Streetsboro is known today as the crossroads of Northeast Ohio, and for good reason. You have the Ohio Turnpike, Interstate 480, State Route 14, State Route 43, and State Route 303, all colliding right here in this exact township. It is a logistical paradise. But this heavy concrete reality is a relatively new phenomenon. To truly understand the road you are driving on right now, we have to travel back over 200 years, long before the internal combustion engine even existed. Keep your speed steady as we travel southeast on State Route 14. This specific road is not just a modern commuter artery. It is one of the oldest, most historic pathways in the entire region. In the very early 1820s, the founder of this township, a wealthy, ambitious land speculator from Connecticut named Titus Street, realized that if his remote patch of wilderness was ever going to be profitable, he needed a way to connect it to the outside world. He personally donated over 800 acres of his own massive land holdings to fund the construction of a crude, dirt and gravel turnpike connecting the booming city of Cleveland to the Ohio River town of Wellsville. When you grip your steering wheel and drive down Route 14 today, you are driving directly over the exact foundation of that ancient, muddy pioneer highway. But let us talk about Titus Street and how a man from Connecticut ended up owning a massive chunk of Ohio. You are currently driving through a region historically known as the Connecticut Western Reserve. After the American Revolution, the newly formed states had massive, overlapping, and highly conflicting land claims all the way out to the Pacific Ocean. The state of Connecticut claimed a massive strip of land stretching across the northern part of what is now Ohio. They eventually ceded most of their claims to the federal government, but they kept a massive 3 million acre reserve in this specific corner of the territory to sell off and rebuild their state economy after the war. When Titus Street bought this entire township from the Connecticut Land Company in the year 1798, he paid just a few dollars an acre for it, and he never even bothered to step foot here. He remained in the comfortable, civilized safety of New England. If he had traveled here, he would have found an incredibly dense, terrifying, and completely untamed wilderness. This entire area was covered in a massive ancient boreal forest of towering oak, maple, and hickory trees. The ground was heavily carved by the retreating glaciers of the last ice age, leaving behind a chaotic landscape of deep ravines, hidden bogs, and thick swamps. The very first pioneers who actually made the agonizing journey out here to settle this land faced conditions that are almost impossible for the modern mind to comprehend. Imagine arriving in this dense, dark forest with nothing but a horse, a wagon full of basic tools, and your family. There were no grocery stores, no doctors, and no roads. The early settlers had to physically hack down massive ancient trees by hand using simple iron axes. They had to use draft horses and raw, grueling brute force to pull the massive, deep-rooted stumps out of the earth just to clear a tiny patch of dirt big enough to plant a crop of potatoes or corn. They built crude log cabins by hand, packing the gaps with mud and moss to keep the freezing winter winds out. They lived in constant fear of disease, starvation, and the harsh, unforgiving elements. It was a life of absolute, relentless, back-breaking labor from sunrise to sundown. As we continue to drive down Route 14, passing the modern grocery stores and the auto repair shops, I want you to picture the next major phase of this town's evolution. Once the forests were finally cleared, the early settlers discovered that the soil here, while rocky, was incredibly fertile. But more importantly, the rolling grassy hills that emerged from the cleared forests were absolutely perfect for grazing livestock. By the mid to late 1800s, Streetsboro had completely transformed from a dark, terrifying wilderness into a beautiful, thriving, highly prosperous agricultural community. Specifically, Streetsboro became an absolute powerhouse of the dairy industry. The town was dotted with massive, sprawling dairy farms and iconic red barns. Farmers would milk their massive herds of cattle by hand every single morning and evening. Because there was no refrigeration, raw milk would spoil quickly, so the community built massive steam-powered cheese factories right here along the main roads. They would take thousands of gallons of raw milk, churn it, and produce massive, heavy wheels of sharp cheddar and Swiss cheese. These heavy wheels of cheese, along with massive wooden barrels of fresh milk, were loaded onto horse-drawn wagons and hauled up this exact road, Route 14, to feed the rapidly exploding hungry industrial population of Cleveland. For decades, the entire rhythm of life in this town was dictated by the seasons, the weather, and the daily milking schedule of the dairy cows. We are approaching the absolute heart of the city now. We have been driving on Route 14 for a little over 2 miles, and we are coming up on the major central intersection of town. Get ready to put your right blinker on. We are going to be making a right turn onto Cleveland-Canton Road, which is also clearly marked as State Route 43 South. Go ahead and make that right-hand turn now, merging smoothly onto State Route 43. As you drive through this massive, multi-lane, highly signaled intersection, you are driving directly across what was historically known as the town square. When the township was first officially surveyed and laid out in the 1820s, the surveyor designated this exact crossroads as the geographic center of the community. Titus Street, continuing his philanthropic efforts to make the town appealing to buyers, donated exactly 1 acre of land at each of the 4 corners of this intersection to be used as a public square, a church, and a school. To mark the exact geographic center of the township, the early pioneers buried a massive heavy stone marker directly in the dirt of the crossroads. Over the last 2 centuries, as the dirt path was widened, graded, paved over with brick, and eventually covered in thick layers of modern asphalt to accommodate heavy semi-trucks and commuter traffic, that stone was simply paved over. Local historians heavily maintain that the original center stone from the 1820s is actually still buried directly underneath the pavement of the massive intersection we just drove through, a hidden silent anchor to the past completely entombed in the modern world. As we drive south on Cleveland-Canton Road, I want you to look closely at the architecture. While much of what you see is new construction, if you look carefully at the side streets and the edges of the commercial lots, you will occasionally spot a beautiful, stately 19th century farmhouse